back to the Dialed In podcast. I'm your host, Allan Gray, Executive Director of Dial Ventures. Here today, talking with Ryan Locke from Nutrien Ag Solutions, a former Texas A&M University Aggie, I believe, which is perfect for me as a TAMU Aggie, Gig'em Aggies. Nice to have a former Aggie on here with me. I'm up here at Purdue University now, been here a long time, Ryan, 25 years. So not always do I get to interact with an Aggie. So it's a real pleasure to have you with us today. Thanks for being here, Ryan.
Thank you as well, Alan. And, Aggies are everywhere. So I'm sure if you look hard enough, you'll find them even there in Boilermaker country.
Yeah, that's exactly. Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. We kind of swarm all different kinds of places. So, well, listen, Ryan, it is really great to have you with us today. Ryan is the Director of Sustainability Partnerships and Business Development at Nutrien Ag Solutions, the largest agricultural retailer in the world, as well as one of the largest fertilizer companies in the world.
Yes.
Many of you may be quite familiar with Nutrien Ag Solutions, doing some really great things, I think, in terms of bringing technology, particularly in these areas around sustainability to agriculture. We're looking forward to the opportunity to visit with Ryan a bit about that today. Before we get into the details on sustainability stuff, though, Ryan, I thought first, why don't we talk a little bit about who is Ryan Locke? So, and that's a trick question in some ways, because I often ask this of folks, not necessarily what does Ryan Locke do, although we want to know that too, but who is Ryan Locke?
I'm kind of the unicorn of agriculture, Alan, but, first and foremost, I'm a father, I'm a husband. As of last October, I'm a farmer myself, and I'm an advocate. And I kind of try to roll all of those things together into how I kind of approach all aspects of my life, both the personal and professional, in being passionate and loving what I do, both as a parent, as a partner, and kind of as a player in kind of this broad scale ecosystem that we're trying to create of good agronomics and good agriculture.
Fantastic. Tell me a little bit about, I'm curious about this farming thing. I read this and I thought a farmer, but I also thought I read on LinkedIn that it says that you're in the Omaha metropolitan area. So are you farming in the metropolitan area?
Yeah, we're just west of Omaha, about 30 minutes outside of downtown city or town called Bennington. And really ultimately wanted to kind of live in both worlds. I still work full time for Nutrien while we manage the property, and still had to be able to get back and forth to the airport. And the worst thing is to travel all day, get in, 8 or 9 o'clock at night and still have an hour drive to get home. So we're about 35 minutes from the airport. It's a straight shot, but still have kind of all of the joys of country living, the acreage, of course, the farm, and elbow room, and all of those things that everybody loves when they move out of the city. So close enough to still be able to get downtown and live that life and still see the stars at night.
So Ryan, wow, I'm thinking a little bit about Nebraska, west of Omaha, 35 minutes. There must be 10 people west of you.
8. We're smack dab between Omaha and Fremont, and while definitely there's a population drop when you get outside of the Omaha metro area, Nebraska is growing. I came here for the first time in the early 2000s, and just to see how the whole state, not just Omaha, but Lincoln and Kearney, and even out to North Platte, just seeing how Nebraska has evolved and grown. And it's actually a little funny, Alan. The motto, the Chamber of Commerce motto for Nebraska is Nebraska, it's not for everybody. And we're trying to keep it that way, but people are figuring out that it's not as bad as people think to find yourself in a flyover state, as they say. But I came here on whim. In 2007, we moved a lot. My dad is former Army. My mom is former federal service. She was a federal agent, and we were always on the move. And I picked Nebraska because it was a state I hadn't lived in yet. So it was literally that simple of a decision, and fell in love with it. And so to see that evolution and also see again other people figure that out too has been great.
So a traveling childhood,
Yeah.
not raised on a farm, and you end up in Aggie land. Tell me about that.
I call myself the accidental Aggie for both reasons. I ended up at A&M because they sent me a postcard in the mail, and I had no connection. We were living in Texas, but no connection or familiarity with the campus or the institution at all, and went because it was a free weekend, a free weekend away from home, and fell in love with the campus, fell in love with the professors. They just really acted like they wanted me to be there, and they threw a lot of scholarship money at me. I'm not going to lie, but don't regret the decision at all. Started out pre-vet, and they're smart enough at A&M to know everyone's not going to be a veterinarian. And though I did have the opportunity to get into vet school, all of my electives were agronomy based, and I really gained a passion for production agriculture through those electives and through those professors really that taught those classes. And so when Syngenta came calling in '06, I weighed $250,000 of student loans to go to vet school in one hand and full-time employment in the other, and I never looked back, and I've ultimately never regretted it. I love the industry. I love the work.
That's fantastic. I will tell you, I was a pre-veterinary before I became an ag economist too, and it turned out for me that organic chemistry decided I was not going to be a veterinarian. I didn't know that veterinarians had to know so much about organic chemistry, and that was tough for me. So.
Yeah. I never do anything the easy way, Alan. And so I was going to go to vet school as a biomedical engineer. So I was double majoring, as silly as that sounds, engineering and animal science. But I was going to design medical equipment because a lot of the medical equipment in the veterinary field is repurposed human equipment. And it was engineering drafting that broke me. I was like, this will not work. I don't draw, and I don't visualize in that way. So I made it through organic chemistry, but I did not make it through drafting class.
Well, that's both of us found our careers by this. Some of the things that were a little bit more difficult for us. Ryan, tell me, I'm really interested in this sort of leadership journey that I think you've been on. You are self-proclaimed, I believe, to be an advocate. I love that idea. A young agri-food leader from Farm Foundation, and now I think just recently maybe president-elect of Manners. Tell me a little bit about Ryan Locke and his sort of leadership.
I come from a family of service, and when we have been called to be part of the solution or to make things better, we've always answered that call. My grandfather on my dad's side was a civic leader in Birmingham during the civil rights movement. My grandmother on my mom's side and grandfather were very heavily involved in the evolution of San Antonio's African American community. And so I have just always gravitated towards the opportunity to be of service. It's not always needed to manifest in a formal leadership format. Minorities in Agriculture, Natural Resources and Related Sciences, the Manners organization. I've been passionately supporting that organization from a lot of viewpoints and a lot of lenses and places in the organization, almost 20 years now. And the nomination actually came from the membership. Three different individuals put my name in for nomination to be the future leader of the organization. And so it's a mantle that I appreciate. I was nominated by a young lady that I mentor for the Farm Foundation Young Agri-Food Leader opportunity. So I've always said your work will be noticed. You don't have to toot your own horn. You don't have to worry. People are watching. And so these opportunities have manifested because people see my passion or at least I hope they do. They see my passion. They see that these things are important to me, that I pour my whole heart into them. And so when asked, I take the reins.
Well, congratulations for those both
Thank
nominations.
you.
I think it's really quite fantastic. A bit biased, I would say this is natural Aggie. This is what Texas A&M Aggies do. They step up to leadership roles. But really fascinated about Manners and what you're doing with Manners, Ryan. I'm quite familiar with Manners, but maybe not everybody is. Can you talk? Do you mind spending just a couple of minutes to help our audience understand what Manners is and what it does?
Alan, I would be happy to, and I appreciate the opportunity to kind of toot their horn. As I already said, MANNER stands for Minorities in Agriculture, Natural Resources, and Related Sciences. And it traces its roots back to the early 80s, the Michigan State and Penn State organizations realizing that there was an opportunity to really create a platform for underrepresented classes in the fields of agriculture. So that's all underrepresented classes. Sometimes it gets put into the box of that just being race, but it's race, it's gender, it's ability, it is sexual orientation, all of the underrepresented areas of agriculture and all of the areas that agriculture touches. So not just traditional crop protection or production agriculture, but again, those related sciences. So particularly now with agriculture being such a technology heavy industry, that's IT, that's computer science. I used to mentor a young man who was a psychology major in the group. And, he was like, well, I just don't know how I'm going to make this fit. And he's doing customer insight work for a PR agency now. Everything touches agriculture. And the organization is really kind of rooted in getting the next generation to see that and to understand that, to bring both young and diverse perspectives into this industry so that it can be resilient and sustainable, so that we can have new producers, so that we can have new people bringing new ideas into the industry, so that we can feed the world, clothe the world, fuel the world. It all starts with that.
That's excellent, Ryan. I will tell you, in Dow Ventures, we're dedicated to the process of innovation in the industry, and one of the
Absolutely.
things that really pushes us is to make sure that our innovation fellows that we recruit have a diverse set of backgrounds. And
That's wonderful.
it's amazing when you can do that. When you bring in a diverse set of backgrounds into the industry, you're bringing whole new perspectives. That's where innovation comes from, right? It comes from this whole melting pot of ideas of people getting
Correct.
together and saying, well, I see it from this perspective and I see it from that perspective. And whether that's an educational background difference or a race background difference or whatever the diversity might manifest itself in,
Yes.
really creates, I think, well, for us, it's a bias. It's going to create for us the opportunity to innovate in ways that the industry hasn't done as much of by bringing in those diverse talents of people. We really love bringing in people who don't even have an ag background at all.
Absolutely.
And let us try to teach you about agriculture because we do know something about that. But you come and teach us about your perspectives and about your background and technology or whatever the case may be. Love that. Love it. And I'm glad you're a leader of
I
Manners.
appreciate that.
Fantastic. Let's talk a little bit about professional Ryan. We talked about
Sure.
leadership Ryan. Let's talk a little bit about professional Ryan. We have this title. It's called Sustainability Director of Sustainability Partnerships and Business Development. Maybe one, what is that and how did you get there?
Well, first and foremost, Alan, it's a mouthful. It barely fits on the business card, but the journey has been, unique in the sense that it's mine, of course, but also unique in that I haven't manifested in this industry, I think, like people would expect. I have been a field salesman. I've been an agronomist. I've done product development. I've been a head of marketing. I've done sales leadership. I've done PR work and external relations and corporate relations, lobbied, and really all of that gets wrapped into the journey that's brought me here in that I've always wanted to be someplace where I felt I was making a difference and where I could be part of how the story of agriculture evolves. And so ultimately that has spurred me or drawn me into, these kind of, I don't know, crest of the wave fields and opportunities. I was working in biologicals when no one was talking about biologicals. I was working in seed treatments when everyone was still using just fungicides, and we were trying to get insecticides and nematicides as part of the conversation. And so, just a desire to kind of be the solution to bring a new answer to the conversation has drawn me to these places. So my role today as the Director of Sustainability Partnerships and Business Development at Nutrien is really unique in the sense that Nutrien really sees sustainability both internally and externally. So we have a corporate sustainability team that is everything that you kind of think of in the traditional sense when you think about sustainability at a big multinational company. They do our reporting and our internal strategy on how we are reducing our emissions and optimizing our operations. And a handful of years ago, predating my arrival, they created the Sustainable Ag division within retail, our kind of most customer facing division of Nutrien. And it really was about taking everything that Nutrien is. And a lot of people, only think of us as a crop protection provider, but we are also a innovator of agronomic knowledge. We are a digital and precision ag provider, and we make our own crop protection solutions in addition to obviously distributing for the other common names, but we make our own solutions as well. And so really taking all of that and bringing it externally to be a facilitator to help others on their sustainability journey and to reach their sustainability aspirations. And so the Sustainable Ag team that I get to sit on, we work externally with external partners, consumer packaged good companies, grain aggregators, regional sustainability organizations to really kind of try and drive scale and scope of sustainable practice adoption forward. So in my role, I manage those relationships. I'm kind of the front door to making sure that those partners, their experience with us is of course positive, that we're designing programs that fit their goals, just basically help them navigate, what is ultimately a very large organization within Nutrien. So if I can't answer it, then I'm kind of their guide, obviously, within the organization to make sure that we get them the resources that they need. So I manage that ecosystem on a day-to-day basis.
Ryan, so that's very helpful. Thank you for that. Let me. So I want to come back to your customers that you're working with your CPG
Sure.
groups and the interest groups. Maybe back me up for a second and tell me a little bit about Nutrien's farmer customers' journey in sustainability. What is that journey looking like for your farmer customers, and where are we today with sort of that journey on the farmer side? Because I sort of see this, and correct me by the way if you don't see it this way, but and you sit in the middle, you're sort of in some ways creating the supply and the demand. The demand is there. You're bringing that demand in, and then Nutrien Ag Solutions working with the farmer to kind of bring the supply, as well as, of course, your own Scope 1 emissions, which I think is brilliant because I think a lot of people aren't quite there yet. They're getting there, but hey, wait a minute. Nutrien has to take care of its own Scope 1 emissions because that is farmers. That frankly is farmers' Scope 3 emissions, and then their Scope 1 emissions become the CPG's Scope 3 emissions, if you will, and sort of that channel. So I'm curious about that journey. You've been on one for a while now. What about that farmer journey? Tell me about where they are in this.
So the farmer journey in this is ever evolving, and where we're trying to be a partner, as we always have been with producers, is really giving them an added voice or an added ally in the conversation of they're the ones driving this conversation. The outcomes that we seek as a society and sustainability, it's happening at the field level. And it's those producers, those operators that we are asking, uh, to kind of be on this journey with us. And as that has evolved, it kind of started not really in partnership. It kind of started with this kind of top down, reaching in to save agriculture from itself. And we're working with our customers and with those CPGs to really, and I call it open source, sustainability, but really just to kind of break it back apart and retie it to just good agronomy. At the end of the day, sustainability is good agronomy. It's something that we have been advocating for and teaching, partnering with growers for a very long time to do. And we tried to put it in this box of it only being cover cropping, no till, et cetera. And that doesn't work for everyone. That doesn't work on every operation. It's not business positive for every operation. And so we really have to almost reverse that lens and look at it from a competency almost standpoint of what are we trying to do? Don't manage the process. Are we trying to make sure that there's a root system 12 months out of the year? Well, there's a lot of ways that we can go about doing that may or may not include a cover crop. Are we trying to do, good water management, reduce leaching, reduce erosion? There's many ways that we can look at doing that. So if we're getting to the same end point, can we offer more option? Can we offer more opportunity for producers to find the pathway that works for the way that they want to do business and still be able to say that they're sustainable? Because maybe I have bias, approaching 20 years in the business, but farming couldn't be sustainable if you have operations that are now operating for hundreds of years, 100+ years at the very minimum. That sounds pretty sustainable to me. So we've kind of separated ourselves from acknowledging the work that producers are already doing and really almost looking to them as part of how we get to the solution. So to kind of, land the plane here, really that journey for growers has been to have a voice in this process, to have a voice in the ask, and helping them have that voice and supporting their voice and making sure that they have both the resources and the seat at the table to manifest in this space in a way that helps them do business better.
That's great, Ryan. I like that concept. We've talked a lot here at Dial Ventures and with a number of different people about the idea that we sort of pigeonhole things into certain practices. They're acceptable practices and others aren't, and it doesn't make a lot of sense. It always is dependent upon where you are in that process. And so having giving the farmer the opportunity to tell the story about what they're doing that is sustainable is really good. At the same time, hopefully, and I think y'all are doing this because I've seen some of it, that the farmer is sustainable because they want to continuously improve, which means they're not opposed to new practices. If they're better practices, that's what I try to tell folks all the time. The farmer has only been sustainable for 100 years because they are constantly adopting new technologies, new practices that are of benefit to what they're trying to do, which is feed the world and their own families. And so I really like that story that you're telling. But my question to you, Ryan, is this. Are your customers buying this? Or are they saying, well, sorry, I mean, I don't want to be overly pessimistic here, but I mean, look, the reality is these food companies have made these promises to the world that they're going to do regenerative, 50% of their products are going to come from regenerative practices by 2030 and 100% by 2050. What's your experience with where these CPGs are in their journey now, with their promises and how they are working with you or not? Maybe some of them are saying, well, that's not the way we can do it. We have to do these practices. Tell me about that.
The what has been even, and I'm just celebrating a little bit over a year in the role, but even in that year, to see the evolution in the downstream space of understanding that they don't farm in many cases, and so kind of yielding a little bit of that um, moral authority to a certain extent to, hey, we set some goals here, and we need your help, and that's the royal your of everyone kind of in that process, to help us get there. And where we have stepped into that conversation is again from the standpoint of where are we trying to go? Strategically, are you looking to lower emissions? Do you want practices adopted? Do you want to lower carbon intensity? Is this a net zero play? Where are you trying to go? And now let's look at, for where you're pulling your commodity from, what your draw area is. What are the realistic levers that we can pull to get you there? And presenting that in a way that makes business sense for that partner and makes business sense for the farmer. And we've watched strategies shift. We've watched the light bulbs come on in the boardrooms of, oh, we're still going to again be able to reduce our emissions 30%, or we're still going to be able to be on our journey to net zero. It's just going to look differently. We can sign on to that, and then the grower feels less forced, less put in a box. They feel more like a partner. And then the other piece of that is that what we're doing here does have value. And so how we also create a value capture opportunity for the grower. Data's not free. Just because we all get on Wikipedia or Google and for our low or maybe not so low monthly internet, all this information is not free. And so whether it's the data, whether it's the practice adoption, making sure that the system, the whole ecosystem of sustainability understands that, again, there is a value proposition that has to be set here, a realistic one. And that if we're serious about this, that all of us are having to come to the understanding that we're going to have to invest. It can't rest on any single set of shoulders in the process. The consumer cannot be responsible for taking all of the expense of sustainability. Neither can the Bungys or the Cargills, neither can the PepsiCos and the Kellonovas or the W.K. Kellogg's. It's going to be a shared investment for a shared benefit because we will all benefit from, and I love that you use the term continuous improvement. That's the journey that we're on, that we've always been on in agriculture. We've decided that the buzzword for today to define our continuous improvement journey is regenerative or sustainable agriculture, but it really actually is about continuous improvement. What are we doing to make agriculture better than it was yesterday? It wasn't bad yesterday, but what are we doing to make it better than it was yesterday? And what are we doing to make sure that, again, we have a safe, affordable, resilient food system moving forward? We choose to call that sustainability. Great, as long as we're all rowing in the same direction.
That's right. That's right. It's one of the things that I've hoped to get the industry to do is I've worked with them is say, okay, when I say industry, I mean the agri-food industry, the whole thing. I never say that about the farmer. We got a whole system here, and everybody has a role to play in that.
Right.
Let's move past the conversation of, well, nobody will define sustainability. Let's just move past that. Let's define what exactly are the goals we're trying to accomplish in this case, and let's see what the opportunities are for trying to accomplish those particular goals. And there'll be more goals along the way, and more goals along the way.
Always.
And they'll change, and you want to change with those goals. But we've been adaptive that way in this industry forever, seems to me like. So Ryan, tell me about win. What's a big win for Nutrien Ag Solutions in this space?
One of our biggest wins actually came here last year. I mean, we're very proud of kind of the road that we've been on, particularly as a business entirely, but sustainable ag. We crossed the 3 million acre mark here this last year on active acres in program, which you know humble brag, I would put up against any of the active sustainable programming ecosystems that are currently out there. We have a 90% plus retention rate on our programming. So our growers come back, they re-enroll every year. So that's definitely doing something right. But some of our longstanding partners, Ardent Mills and Bunge, who's a new partner, we're showing again that this ecosystem works, this shared value linked chain that we're building. It's not a pay for practice model. Again, it's a shared investment all along the value chain to ultimately bring growers value back for their sustainable and emission reducing practices. That's what gives me my warm fuzzy. Showing that again, sustainability does work. It works as a business. It works for the environment. It can fit into the operation. It's not an and or conversation when we talk about sustainability. It can be good business. We're working, with our partners and with growers to show that it is and can be good business. It's not just well, I have to do it. My buyer is making me, do these things. We're actually showing that, hey, there's a return on investment outside of that supply contract. This is actually good for your operation, building it into the business. That's what I'm most proud of. But we have a lot of brass rings we've grabbed, a lot of laurels to hang in what we're doing in sustainable ag. It's inspiring.
That's awesome, Ryan. I'm curious, what would you say to this? Well, for an agricultural retailer, they're the largest one in the world. For an agricultural retailer, these concepts are difficult. I mean, our model is historically built on pounds on the ground, and that's how we get paid. This is a model that's not quite that same business model. In the end, there's a fair amount of times where I got an agronomist who has to go out to the farmer and say, we need to put less on the ground. So tell me how Nutrien is embracing the idea of this shift in the business model, if you will.
Well, you can imagine with a ship as big as Nutrien, change is a process. And, I use the term tons are us. Ag has often been a tons are us type of conversation. And, we have really worked both internally and externally to reinforce the fact that we understand at Nutrien that who we are as a business today is not who we will be as a business tomorrow. And so, you talk about, the potential that, we are applying less. Yes, that is a functional reality potentially of this journey, this process. In fact, one of our flagship sustainability programs, Sustainable Nitrogen Outcomes, is built entirely around nutrient use efficiency, the opportunity or potential that we would be putting on less material. And so at the end of the day, think about it maybe through this lens. A mine, a phosphate mine, or any other mine, while we do that in the most environmentally responsible way that we can, opening up a hole in the ground is not necessarily a positive outcome when we start talking about sustainability. So if we can maximize the use of the resources that are coming out of that mine and extend its lifetime 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, that's a business positive for us. That's actually good business. There's a return on investment that we can quantify as a business. Again, as we move into the sustainability economy and the services that we provide that are attached to that, the soil sampling, the services, we do all of the measurement, recording, and verification. within these processes, there's value capture across all of this. And again, the new tools that are integrating into sustainability, whether that's biologicals, whether those are soil microbiome tools, there will be new things to sell. There will always be something to sell in the business of agriculture. And so that's the approach that we're taking is that we will be on this evolution journey, and we will be armed with the best tools for producers so that they have a value proposition to capture and that we're able to share in that value capture. And it may just not look like it did today.
Ryan, I think that what I appreciate about what you're saying here and what Nutrien Ag Solutions is doing is that you're positioning yourself and your farmer customers together in this journey of sustainability to reach out to the rest of the world and say, hey, we kind of know how to do this. You're positioning yourself as saying it's not about, maybe we're not about pounds on the ground. We're going to be about brains in the dirt.
Yep.
We're the
Ooh, I like that.
now.
I like that.
We're how this is going to happen. I really think that this is what I've tried to tell lots of people. I grew up in the ag retail space. My entire professional career as a professor has been working with ag retail, and I tell everybody that they're the most unnoticed agribusiness in the country. Nobody outside of our little circles that we run in right here have any idea what ag retail is at all. But you're the most important cog in the wheel, in my judgment, in terms of helping farmers and the rest of society figure out what's the right thing to do with respect to growing the food that we that we need to feed this world. I think it's really fascinating what y'all are doing. Let me challenge you just for a second, and we'll wrap up here. 3 million, by the way, congratulations, 3 million acres. To my knowledge, studying this, I don't think there's anybody close. I think it's not. I think it's almost not worth talking about because it's not. I think it's so far ahead of everybody else. It's not remotely close. 3 million acres. But the reality, Ryan, is this: we have 300 million acres in the United States.
Yes, we do.
Where are we going here? Is this a niche? Is this a small little thing that we just keep plugging along with? Where do you see us going?
So it's not niche. It's not partisan. It's not, this is, again, about how we feed, fuel, clothe society moving forward. We're actively, Manners and Farm Foundation and FFA and AFA and 4-H, we're actively continuing to build the next generation of individuals who will be involved in this business. But what we do know is that there will be more people and potentially less farmland as we move forward. And that has to be as productive as it possibly can be. And the resources and the impact that activity has to be balanced as best as we are capable. And so this is a journey that we will continue to be on. And as we say internally to Nutrien, a Canadian company, we're waiting for the bend in the hockey stick.
Uh-huh.
We're waiting for it to take off, and we're part of that conversation. Again, as I've had the opportunity to kind of tie in, several times during our chat, how do we continue to create opportunities for the value chain to realize the importance of what farmers do, to make them part of the conversation, to embed value in what they're doing, and build it into, again, the system. And, everyone says, when we get to quote unquote, when everybody's doing sustainable agriculture, then is it going to be special anymore? Society's not built that way. We're going to chase another brass ring. That this is a journey we have now started, no matter what the instigations, may have been for it. And it's a journey that we will never end on. Again, we can say that we'll maybe get to that 300 million acre mark, depending on how we define, but 300 million acres that are, again, let's look at it from a competency standpoint, that have a living root, 12 months out of the year, or, where we have optimized the application of the inputs, whatever we finally reach to say is quote unquote the base level, while we continue to bat around what sustainability is. But then we have to think about water use efficiency and water management. We have to think about biodiversity. We have to think about soil health. There's so many facets to this. We will always be on that journey of continuous improvement.
Ryan, so I think I have a better idea of what sustainability partnerships and business development position description is. But what I've heard you say more than anything else is that you've got a fully employed career ahead of you, because this journey is one that's going to be here for a while. That's fascinating. One last question. I started with who is Ryan Locke. I want to finish with that question again. This is a trick question, not a trick question for you, a tough one for you. What song is on your playlist that's Ryan Locke's theme song that tells us about Ryan Locke?
Oh, goodness. This is going to sound so boastful, but all I do is win.
I love it. All I do is win. If you're going to be in this space, doing this kind of work, trying to have this kind of a difference with all the leadership roles that you've got, trying to bring people along with you, you got to have that focus. We got to win, got to win, got to win. I love it. Ryan, thank you so much for taking the time to visit with us today.
It's been a pleasure, Allan. Thank you.